welcome to the ORCA pod, the ORCA countdown, where we are counting down, reviewing, discussing all 11 modern era Australian Survivor LRGs. It is October and it is the month of Backyard Survivor Season 1. Last week we had the fantastic rundown with myself and the always amazing Jules, where we went through the whole season, talked about all the moves, all the action, and tonight, very excited to have not just the winner, Sally, but also the runner-up by, which is a single vote, Amy O. We'll be talking to them about their game, which I think is going to work very well, because normally I would not have two people to do a deep dive, but they were on the same tribes the entire game. They were aligned the entire game. So I think we're going to get a very interesting perspective from both of them in terms of the games that they played and their view on what was essentially the same moves, but perhaps with their own mindsets about why they were making those particular moves at that particular time. Before I get into introducing the guests, I just want to remind everyone the voting for the awards for the season remains open. Get in there and vote. Ensure that the people you think are the MVP or should come back and play again, get those votes. Next week, on Monday, we have the best show of our 4-week season that we do on any of these coverage, the Tea Party with the now famous Annabelle, where she gets all the hot goss and hot takes from players from the season. Joining her will be an amazing combination of Calvin, Rosie, Rob Goddess Rosie, and hungover girl Emma to talk about how hungover she really was the entire game. I'm very excited for that tea party. And then in the last week of the month, we will have always the awards as you voted by you. And of course, the most important award, the ORCA award, handed out by the ORCAs, the Bromelo medal. And I will have a catch up with Kyle and Brian as well to talk about their inspirations for the season. And then the train keeps rolling. We will be doing November Canberra Survivor Season 1. So if you're wanting to follow all our coverage of Canberra Survivor Season 1, you need to start binging now if you haven't watched it before, or just refresh your memory because we will be covering it from November. So before I bring in our very special guests, Sally and Amy, I want to bring in the person that's going to be talking to me tonight, talking with them and myself tonight. With these shows, like we had for Season 1, Melbourne Season 1, I like to have a winner on us to do the winner deep dive, because the winners are going to have a unique perspective on what it takes to win the game. And I think it's appropriate that we talk about that, because he keeps changing his title. I have to change it back. I'm looking to Gamey himself, John, winner of Playing with Fire. How you doing, John?
I'm good. I'm happy not being the game, but
you're the game, man. I'm changing it back.
I always love talking about Survivor, and it's okay, fine. Even better to break down the winning game.
Do you know where we've got this game thing from?
No, because I don't watch wrestling.
Yeah, well, because he's Triple H, and you have the H's, and John, the other John Tan, he has one H. And he's also known as the Cerebral Assassin. I think that suits you.
Or wrestling? Does he mind fuck them?
He always runs elaborate schemes and fucks them all over.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's suitable for you. And I see your lovely shirt, yes, on 23. I'll be voting yes on 23. I've already voted, actually. I had a postal vote.
Oh, yeah. Well done. Does
yes.
that mean you're a silent elector?
Yes.
Oh. You can't stalk CK's address, guys.
I have too many adoring fans from this podcast, and I've had to take myself off the electoral roll. They're just coming at me left, right, and center, John.
I wouldn't know the feeling.
Well, I thought you would. After winning a game of Survivor and LRG, people would be all over you, and that's why we brought you to this coverage, to give your unique take on the winning game played by Sally. And, I think we can say that Amy equally had a very, very impressive game. Just losing by 1 vote is no shame by any means. So I think getting both of their inputs can be really exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear both their takes on the season.
Okay, well, without further ado, I know people come to see me, but they probably came to see them more. We're bringing them in. Let's welcome Sally.
Hello.
Hi, Sally, and we're welcoming Amy.
Hi.
So excited to have you both here. Let's just 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago. How long ago was this?
January 2018. So almost 6 years.
Yeah. And what did the two of you think you were signing up for? Let's go with you, Sally. What did you think you were signing up for?
Kyle asked me if I wanted to come to his Survivor-themed birthday party. So I thought it was maybe a couple of Survivor games that Kyle really wanted to play, just with like a few people. And then I think a week out, he's like, oh, actually, can you also just sign this form and send it back? Because we're going to film some of it.
I got a consent. You got a consent for your image, did he?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess like maybe he wants to like show that he can like build homemade Survivor games of some sort.
So like,
and what was
did you guys get told, like, because this was like 17 hours or something? Did you guys get told how long it would go for? Like, did you think it would be like a 1 or 2 hours and then you have drinking, or did you know that would be the whole day?
No, I thought it would be like 3 or 4 games. No tribes, no hosts, no voting. I thought it was just we're going to turn up and play a couple of games that look interesting off Survivor.
Wow.
And what about you, Amy? Did you have a similar experience?
A very, very different experience. I actually feel so bad for Sally that she, came in thinking
bad. She won. You don't need to feel bad for her.
Yeah. I guess my story is a bit different. So I've been good friends with Kyle. We met when we were 16, just sort of through high school friends. And we then also got like our first part-time job together. It was at the same place. And the whole time I've known Kyle in our friendship, he's always been very, very good at getting people together to do really random things. So the year prior to playing for my birthday, it was my 30th birthday, I had like a 90s themed birthday party. And I was like, I'm going to dress up as Britney Spears and I really want to surprise everyone at my party with a choreographed dance routine to a Britney Spears song. And Kyle, like, would you mind choreographing it? I'm going to have some backup dancers. And he was up for it. And it was amazing. And I had a finale with like glitter everywhere. And Brian was one of the people that popped my little glitter cannons. It was a beautiful diva moment. And then the following year for Kyle's birthday, for his 31st, he was like, hey, so I really want to do this thing. I want to put on a game of Survivor for my birthday. It's going to be a joint party, like with Brian. And I was like, well, like, of course, yes, because you helped me so much last year with what I wanted to do. So I'm definitely going to do this for you. So I sort of like signed up just wanting to do something to help my friends. Didn't have a lot of knowledge of Survivor.
That comes up a bit.
Hey.
It comes up a bit during the program. Amy's Survivor knowledge is a topic of conversation. There's a belief that you're playing down your Survivor knowledge by a number of the contestants.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm not sure if you remember, Sally, but there was a Facebook event for the party, which had like the hosts, people who were on crew, like all of the contestants were in it.
I don't think I was invited to that.
No, you were. You definitely were.
Oh, really? I just remember Kyle sending me a message, like a Facebook message saying like, hey, would you mind, like, would you be interested?
Yeah. So I think like in the Facebook event, because I actually like in preparation for this podcast, I did my own deep dive and I went back and I found the event, had a little scroll. You were definitely in it. And the sort of stuff that they were like posting in there. I mean, you would not do that like nowadays. You think it's outrageous to have people like
they were
socializing with each other.
This is what you're saying? They were pre-gaming in this chat.
Yeah, maybe.
Is this why Sally didn't realize what she was signing up for?
She
never found it. She never found the event page.
Would you want me to share the image that you shared with me? from that
I'll
chat?
just give some context. So in the Facebook event, I think that Brian and Carl sort of recognized that a lot of people attending didn't have a lot of Survivor knowledge, and I think they wanted to educate us. So they were putting posts up like, hey, we're going to be doing stuff like challenges, this is what an immunity idol is. And, I'm just being silly, being like, immunity idol, like Paulini in the gold dress, like idol. Or he's like, we're going to be taking confessionals. I'm like, a priest is coming? Like, I don't know what's going on. So they were kind of like educating us like how the day would run kind of thing.
And to clarify, did you know what confessionals were and did you know what idols were?
So I had watched, there was that season of Survivor that was filmed in Australia, I think.
You watched the Australian Outback season 2.
Okay.
That's what you mean. If you mean American Survivor shot in Australia, you probably mean season 2. That was a long time ago. That was like 2002. Were you watching Survivor in 2002?
Probably, yeah, because I was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted to share this, though. This was one of your posts that you put up in the group chat. Am I correct?
Yeah, just being like, tomorrow I signed up to be Beyonce, and just was like Survivor. So
if you're Beyonce, who is Kelly and who is Michelle?
I don't know.
In the past, is it Sally and Tyrone?
You've got to choose between Sally and Tyrone because they were the final 3. They were the survivors.
I would have said Brian and Kyle.
I mean, I'm probably not Beyonce. Sally's probably the Beyonce, really.
Well, she is the winner, and I think Beyonce won Destiny's Child. If we're going to go
there we go. Yeah, so I think it was all just sort of like lighthearted. We're just doing it for a laugh, to have some fun, ham it up, going to film it. Don't take it too seriously, but also this is how you play Survivor.
And what do you know about Survivor, Sally? You didn't expect it to be so serious, but had you watched the show, were you familiar with it?
I'm maybe going to test how good your Survivor knowledge is because I've seen 2 episodes of the American one with Wu. I just remember him because I loved his name.
Yeah. Who else is in it?
I don't know.
We either watch Cagayan or you watch Second Chances, but I don't know which one from the information you get.
Yeah, and that was probably, I knew like confessionals and stuff because, I watched Big Brother and I'd seen like things of like The Bachelor and stuff. I knew they were called confessionals, but I don't know why. I think I already knew how immunity idols sort of worked. But even like last week when you guys were discussing like going to rocks, I was like, I can't remember what that means.
Well, you didn't ever have to do it, so it was never really put to you. So
yes, but I remember everyone being like, oh, if we don't vote someone out, we'll have to go to rocks. And I was like,
is that a
don't
good
know
thing?
if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah. I guess this is really interesting that you've got both of you have limited Survivor knowledge. And look, I've never met Rem, and I've only ever watched him on the 5 hours of content that was here put for me. But he didn't seem like he knew a lot about Survivor either. Meanwhile, we have super knowledgeable Rosie just rounding you guys up as your shepherd. What was Tyrone's Survivor knowledge? Was he more like you, or was he more Rosie, or a bit more in between?
I think Rosie really sort of just explained everything to us. Like we were just like little puppies following her around, doing whatever she asked. And
did you find that at any point, perhaps later in the game, that was what was threatening about her, but earlier in the game, it was a positive thing, or even early on, like, oh, this chick knows way too much?
I can remember after I had the pizza with Amy and Emma, I remember being like, okay, well, actually, we need to vote Rosie out because she's going to win. I remember taking people aside and saying, like, we have to vote for Rosie because she's the person who's going to win. if we don't get rid of her.
You mentioned,
and I felt so mean.
You know what I mean? It was the right move.
Yeah,
she's out there giving idols. She's giving idols to Emma underhanded. Like, screw you guys up. I wouldn't be working with her. What were you going to say, John?
You mentioned in your opening confessional, Sally, that your goal was just to not be first out. Did either you or Amy, did either of you guys go into this game thinking, I want to win? Or was it more just like, it's Carl's birthday, I just want to have fun?
I wanted to win, but I didn't think there was any sort of chance. Just, I didn't know anything about Survivor. I didn't know any of the games. It was a lot more serious than I thought it was going to be. So it was like a vague wish.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's an amazing question, because I think at the time I definitely sort of went in, or not going into the game. I had like a really, really interesting conversation in the lead up to playing, which changed my mindset before I actually entered the game. Just gonna name drop here. Andrew, who is involved in Survivor Canberra, and was in Backyard Survivor season 3, is someone that Kyle and I had worked with previously. And he was living at Canberra at the time, and he came over to Perth like the week before we filmed this and caught up with us and was like, oh, what are you doing, for your birthday, Carl? And he's like, I'm doing this Survivor thing. He sort of explained what he was doing. And Andrew was so passionate about it and was like, oh my gosh, I love Survivor. That's amazing. That's so cool that you're doing this. And I'm sort of there going like, yeah, I'm going to play, but I'm not athletic. I'm not overly intelligent. I'm not like good at, puzzles or stuff like that. So, I probably will like get out early. And Andrew was like, doesn't matter about any of that. He was like, all you need to do to win, and like giving me like advice, like all you need to do to win is you just need to get people, behind you, like working together, tell them that you'll take them to the end and work together with people, build bonds, have relationships, create trust, and you can make it to the end. And so I was kind of like, that's really good advice. So going into the game, I sort of went in with that mindset of, yes, I have all these things that I'm lacking and I'm not good at, but I have these other things that I am really good at and I know that I can do. And so that was sort of my, I guess, strategy, if I had any, going into the game, was get a bunch of people together and stick together.
Well, let's talk about, as you, let's talk about you enter the game, and we'll talk about the first 2 episodes. You're in your tribe with Tyrone, Rosie, and Rem. Did you think, looking at that tribe, that you were going to be dominating the first couple of challenges, or do you think that you looked perhaps weaker than some of the other tribes?
I didn't know anyone on the tribe, so I didn't.
You judge the books by their covers. You just judge these books by their covers. Come on, you look at people and go, we can beat them, or we can't beat them. Well, that's not really what you're thinking.
I thought you did know them, because you kept like name dropping their last names. Like, that's Matt Mahoney, that's David Knorr.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know anyone on my tribe.
Oh, yes. Right, yeah.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, people on the other.
Who did you guys know in the rest of the game? Yeah. Going into it.
I knew Rachel and Emma, and that was it.
Yeah.
Were
you surprised? Were you surprised to find that Emma had shown up to the game incredibly hungover, or was that not a surprise at all?
Not hugely surprising, but also I spoke to her before we started, because she turned up a bit late as well. She was the last one to arrive. Surprise. But I think she only agreed to it like the day before. So she was already out and drinking when she agreed to it. She was like, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop the party. And you, Amy, who did you know?
Probably, the people that I knew the best were Matt and David with the hat, were probably like my closest friends out of everyone. I knew Rhiannon and Tamara, Carl's sister Rachel I knew, and
Rachel's Carl's sister. I wasn't familiar with
Carl's
that. That's
sister.
interesting.
Yep, Rachel. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I knew Sam because he's friends with Carl's brother, so I had met him a couple of times. And Rem, I just like knew of the name because I think he went to high school with Carl and Matt and David. So I had heard his name before, so I'd never actually met him.
Do you want to say something, Sally?
I realised I do know Sam. I'd been to a bunch of parties at Rachel's, which was where it was filmed.
I was at Rachel's house. You gave up her house for it.
Yeah, so she felt like she should have had more of an advantage for being her home turf.
She definitely should have had more of the pool. It sounded like that was an advantage.
Well, like I asked you about Emma, Amy, you knew Matt. Were you surprised he was such a salty sea fish about the whole affair? Or is that just his style?
Matt was just being Matt. Like, I watch it back and like all of us who know and are friends with him are like, yep.
That's
That's how he's reacted. That's how he is. So that's, we love him for who he is as well.
We love authenticity in the Survivor.
We loved it. I loved it. Like, that's what you want. Like, he's memorable. Like, Sam's memorable for just wanting the beers and then getting his beers. But, like, Matt is memorable for just his absolute anger at the whole thing not going his way and him having 0 ounces of blame for said disaster.
The thing I really liked when you guys were all on the mat was everyone was looking around, sizing each other up. And then I think, like, the blue and green trios, which had, like, more men, were like, oh, yeah, we're really strong in challenges. And I love that, like, in the end, the red tribe just dominated the challenges and dominated the game.
Yeah.
Red tribe is
best.
DK.
People.
So here's my big question for you. If you guys either, like, you might not have a thought on this because I appreciate, I've got to take your word on the show, and I appreciate you were new to the game. But if Red had gone to a tribal council before there was a swap, do you have any idea which way the vote might have gone?
Rem wanted to vote me.
From the start.
Oh, probably not. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, at the start, at the very, very start. It was just the 5 of you. Sally?
Probably wouldn't have been Rem or Rosie because Rem was obviously very strong for all the physical challenges, and Rosie knew what was going on.
Yeah. So one of you two and
Tyrone. In terms
probably,
of, like...
Yeah, one of the final 3.
Yeah.
One of the first ones to go.
But in terms of, like, how close you guys were, like, who... In that kind of, was there like a social hierarchy? Like was it, because the way I kind of saw it watching the episode was like, it was like Rosie and you girls, and then like Tyrone was like a 4th and Rem was like a 5th, or was that not really the case?
I sort of saw Rem as sort of Rosie's like loyal sidekick dog in a way, who would do whatever she said. But I agree she had a better social connection with Sally and Amy. I feel like maybe Tyrone might have got snuffed if that was my read of the social dynamics.
I think I probably would have voted for Tyrone.
Yeah.
I probably
which feels really mean. I hated voting.
When you guys were like, sitting by the pool enjoying all your food because you kept winning, and you guys were like speculating with the other tribes and who was going, and it was always Emma for being hungover, which I love. That was a running theme for Amy's confessionals. But did you guys ever, like in your head, think like, who would I? Even if you guys couldn't say it out loud because you guys were all like bunched together, do you guys have in your head who you wanted to like work with more in that group of 5?
It's kind of like we didn't want to think about it until it had to happen, I think.
Yeah, I remember just going, oh, glad that's not us. Let's enjoy the food.
Yeah. Another mini muffin. Woo.
There were so many mini muffins.
There's actually it's fantastic Survivor strategy to not overplay or even play when you don't need to be playing. You guys are winning challenges. If people start having discussions or even having thoughts and it's leading you to speak in a particular way or talk to someone in a particular way because you think that's who I want to be with long term and this is who I think should go if we lose, any of that sort of discussion can really blow back on you quite quickly. And if you've never actually had to go to a vote, then these discussions are out there that didn't really have any relevance. So the best strategy is to do what you did, in my view, I failed at doing this myself, but having seen it fail so miserably, the best strategy is to do what you did and just we don't need to worry about that. We're not going to tribal. Let's just enjoy it. Let's enjoy each other. And that's, I think, helped those bonds remain pretty close through the whole game.
Yeah, and I guess unless someone's standing out as being like a massive liability or being super annoying, then there's probably no reason to talk about it.
Was there anyone on the other tribes when you're looking at, you're thinking, I want to work with them if we get to a swap or a merge?
For me, just because I knew Rachel and Emma, I was like, oh, you know, I'd like to work with Rachel. Probably not Emma today because she's so hungover.
Yeah.
You know, she really suffered in a lot of the opinions, I think, from that like first half hour.
Yeah. And that's what made her eventual climb to success all the more impressive. And I think actually made her quite threatening that, like, there's no way you could have taken her to the end. I think she would have been quite a popular vote because of that story.
I think I also would have liked to play with Calvin.
Yeah. Well, we can move. Let's move quickly through the next phase and then to the merge where these options are.
We just started the game, so you're not behind at all. So feel free to join in and comment as we go along.
Yes. So you get swapped, and what an amazing swap situation for the two of you and Rosie and Tyrone. You don't have the strongest tribe, but you've got two complete cannon fodder vote outs to get you through to the next phase. Were you guys just like, what unbelievable luck for us?
Yeah, I was going into it being like, I've just got to, get the numbers and stick together. So yeah, it worked out very well for me.
Did you guys because it sounded like some people were mentioning that Rosie had warned you guys that a swap was about to come, and had you guys discussed what you would do in a swap and in different scenarios of if you guys were divided up, how would you guys approach it? Or was it just stick together?
I don't remember.
Mel has a question.
All I can remember is saying that we would be red till the end.
Yeah. And speaking of red, Amy, are you wearing your game shirt, or is that a coincidence?
Red to the end.
Yes, I am wearing my game shirt.
Fantastic.
I love that you've kept it after all these years, Amy.
Yeah.
Still very red. Excellent. I love that.
Thanks for noticing.
Only Mel noticed, not the host here. So sorry about that, but well done, Mel. So first off, you lose, and it's not really a surprise. And you have a choice basically between Tamara and Rachel. Can you talk through the thinking? It was a bit unclear from the episode why you chose Tamara over Rachel there, noting that Tamara had less of her original tribe still in the game, and Rachel still had a few people from her original tribe that she could go back to. Do you recall why Tamara was the one that went?
I recall. I remember all we'd lost. We went back to the camp, and I was like, "Well, this is the time that we're meant to talk about who we're going to vote out." But this is so awkward because we're in a small space, and we weren't really creating opportunities to split apart and chat. So we were just all there together, just waiting for them to call us in, and then they sort of lined us up before they did the come on in. And we're all just sort of standing there in the middle, and I just turned around to Rosie, Sally, and Tyrone, just looked them all in the eyes and was just mouthed Tamara's name.
Oh, so you were the choosing. You were the choice. You were the reaper.
It was the moment where it was okay, we're doing this. We have to be united, so it has to be a name. And I remember Rosie kind of being oh, really? I thought Rachel, and I was no, Tamara.
Yeah.
And Sally was friends with Rachel.
Yeah, I was immediately on board. I was oh, well, if it's a physical challenge, Rachel's a way better chance. She's incredibly good and strong and to be able to dominate most physical things. We don't have a lot of physical power on our team.
Tyrone missed his steroid schedule. as he said in his confession.
Same, Tyrone.
Well, then you roll into the next episode, and it's good you kept that strength because they're going to put you 2-on-2 without matched genders in tug of war.
Yes.
I feel
I
this
mean, to
was
be fair, I feel like Matt's genders would have just been poor Emma just facing up all of you guys again and again and again.
No, they had Rhiannon as well.
Yeah.
It would have been poor Tyrone.
Yeah, it would have been poor Tyrone. But I feel that matched genders would have given you a slightly better chance at this challenge.
I just remember, like, afterwards, like, not being happy about, like, the fact that we played tug of war at that point when we had such a clear disadvantage. I was like, excuse me, Kyle, like, why would you do this to us? Like, we're clearly going to lose. And then he was like, you didn't understand that, like, we plan out the game and, like, this is the challenges and we do them in this order. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that.
He's not just
Amy, someone who has been there, done that, where you walk into the challenge and you look around and you're like, they're way more muscle than our tribe. It's like not even like worth doing. Yeah. I understand. Yeah. I think we lasted about 6 seconds when we did tug of war.
Yeah. You there, Sally? You might have frozen. Hopefully Sally can come back to us.
I think Sally is maybe so drained from winning the Soul Tug of War challenge.
Yeah, she was the beast in that one.
Also, in the tug of war as well, like I can't remember if this was like talked about in the episode, but Rachel was recovering from a wrist injury as well.
So she
like
wasn't the physical beast.
That we kept
she wasn't the physical beast that you hoped she was.
Yeah, and like Carl's mum was there, and she was very much like, she has to be careful because, you know, she's got her wrist injury and stuff like that. And we're like, oh no, like we need her. Also, like Mama Bear's over there worried.
Yes, she's just having some phone issues. Hopefully she'll be back soon. I want to talk to you, I have this moment, about the fake idol that was made, later found by Dan, and made as a group with Rachel's inclusion. Now, Dan, we understand, believed this to be a legitimate idol. How was it wrapped up? Did it have paperwork? How was that all put together?
I was like not really caring about what was going on about that. I was just, at that point, we'd just lost, and I was like too busy being like, keep Rachel busy and occupied, and yes, take her for a confessional because I need to make sure these people know that we're voting her out. So I didn't really like invest in how she was doing it.
Yeah. So I was gonna sad that Sally's had to drop out because I was gonna ask her, like, was there like, do you think that Rachel had any chance whatsoever? Like, would you guys, given Sally's relationship with Rachel, would you guys have considered, say, voting Tyrone off, or was it always Red Strong, no one else, no matter what they said or did?
I don't really, remember like entertaining that. I think if we hadn't have lost and then it goes another round, then like maybe. I don't know if I would have been open to it, but I guess I know you kind of have to go with whatever everyone else is going with, really.
My reading of the group, and you can only tell me this is correct or not, is that there was really a strong belief in this Red Strong. Those 2 early wins had really solidified the group. There was a good social dynamic there. And if any of you turned on one another before the other one, it would have sent a message to Rem that, you know, really this Red Strong thing isn't legit. And then maybe he starts looking at other options over where he is, as opposed to planning on coming back to you. Like, obviously, if you had to vote out someone from Red, just do the numbers and so be it. But to save Rachel or Tam over someone else would send the wrong message from what you guys were trying to achieve, I would have presumed.
I think so. Yeah, for sure.
Sally's phone has overheated, and she's putting it in the fridge to hopefully cool it down and come back with us. And we like that ingenuity, and I'm sure she'll be back with us soon.
It's the winner thinking, CK.
It is doing this outside the box thinking, that is key.
Amy, do you guys know about Rosie's original idol? Was a complete secret because I was wondering, like, did she use the paper from that to wrap up the necklace, or?
She probably did, but like, did we
back.
have any idea?
No,
Not really.
We've just been talking about the fake idol that was made. Do you recall what that was made with? The wrapping? Did it have paperwork?
It was Rachel's necklace.
Yeah.
Rachel had a necklace with like a little sea turtle on it. We're like, oh, that looks Survivor-y.
Yeah.
And I think we used the clue or something that Rosie had.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys knew she found the original idol.
We knew she found a clue.
Okay.
Right.
But I don't remember knowing that she had an idol.
Yeah.
So I remember when we were making the fake one, I was like, oh, this will be like the first one.
Did you guys ever cotton on that she had that idol? No.
And the thing I love is that because that was your sit-up bench too. And I remember like Rosie was trying so hard to sit out, and then someone was like, "No, it's a math challenge. We need the engineer." And I'm like, "Sally's the engineer."
Yeah.
And it's like, "No, Sally, you go sit out."
He doesn't know. So is Rosie more of is she a civil engineer? What sort of engineer is Rosie?
I think civil or mechanical.
And you're
something that people actually know what they do.
And you're a geospatial engineer. Is that how you were later on able to solve that very complex puzzle? Is there any association there, or am I just making assumptions?
I spend most of my day maps and looking at maps and stuff.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, very
definitely
good.
with skill, not luck.
Yeah, for sure. Just like Tyrone's lack of skill in unlocking the lock. It was a very.
The other thing I wanted to ask Sally was, you received a vote at the first tribal you guys went to. Was that a surprise to you, or did you know that like Tam or Rachel were throwing that out?
No, I was horrified. I was devastated that someone voted for me.
I think that's my favorite thing.
I had no idea, and I was like, "A good thing we're voting tomorrow." Then
I think that both of you have the best like reactions to receiving votes. Like I remember, like I think when Amy at the merge was skipping ahead, but like when her name comes out, she's like, and it's like, how fucking dare you?
Like 3 of my friends there, like shouting at them, like, "I was one of you." Yeah, mortified.
Well, we can just jump to the merge because you guys obviously you win a challenge, you win an amazing challenge with the knocking the things off the thing. Rosie's just an absolute beast in it, but Sally dominated one. Amy, I know you went really hard against David with the hat. You lost, but you went really hard. Like you were all in for that.
Chest shove.
Yeah. So that was just an amazing team effort, and I'm sure that was a very, very thrilling victory for you all with the physically weaker tribe going against the muscle. It's not necessarily a muscle challenge, but it's one that muscle, height, reach, all things that men generally have naturally are an advantage. So for you to win that, I'm sure it was very fulfilling. You went back going, fuck those guys. We won that.
Yeah,
very much so, because they were so unsympathetic when we had to keep voting people out.
But I think you guys also like outthought them a lot of the ones that you guys won. So I think Rosie was championing the throw the idol up and then whack their idol before her one hit the ground. So it was like very much brains over brawn.
And look, I love a lot of the guys on that other tribe, but there's a little bit of cockiness with people like Calvin, Rem, Dan. I expect we're all pretty enjoying that they were just going to steamroll these challenges. Pretty much.
It felt like that from the other side.
Yeah, definitely felt that energy.
Well, like I think they were so shocked that when they had to walk back to their tribe, they walked back to the pool, and then I think like Brian had to go like, hold up, loser territories over there.
Yeah, you didn't win. Don't go there.
This was just the incredible underdog victory, the amazing feeling that you never got to experience, John. Sorry.
Yeah, I say this, but I think I'm pretty sure I'm the losingest person in LRG history in terms of challenges. I've won 1 out of 11 tribal challenges and 0 out of 8 individual immunity challenges.
So he's like the anti-beast.
Can I just say something about like all of the challenges sort of like pre-merge? Something that I was like trying really hard to do was I never wanted to put myself in a position where I was going to be like singled out. Yeah. So I always like
you don't want the hero role.
What?
You don't want the hero role.
No.
You don't do the puzzle. You don't be throwing the ball. You want to be the team role.
So, and I think because I also wanted to, create bonds and like work together with people as a team. And I never wanted to be like, oh, Amy over there like did this thing wrong and that's why we lost. Let's vote her out. Like I never wanted to be, singled out for anything.
Yeah. And conversely, even if you do really well in those hero role parts, then people go, you're the puzzle person or you're the one who's really good at this. And then you kind of get that threat level going into merge. I'm sure Rosie would have if she didn't win the next like 4 individual challenges. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we'll talk to, you go into merge here. Rem comes straight back. Were you expecting that or were you expecting that maybe he'd forged some other bonds?
I mean, did you think Rem would be voted off, or did you think like were you worried that being the sole red, he wouldn't survive as well?
Yeah, like I was surprised he made it through, but like I vividly remember sort of like being at the merge area, and we're having a little feast and stuff, and things are happening, and I remember just like having this like light bulb moment. Like I feel like it, getting to the merge was like meant to be like some big thing, and like all oh my gosh, like things are going to happen now, that sort of kicks it into gear, the next part of the game. And I like vividly remember like being there and like counting how many of us like from the original red tribe were there and then how many of the other people were there. And I was like, I'm a genius. Like, Rosie, did you know that there's actually like 5 of us are here? If we go and have a conversation with Rem, like this is amazing. Like, yep, we've got to go get him.
Yeah.
I can remember I hadn't eaten until the merge. Like not really. Like we sort of had a bit more food, but like that little bit of food at the winners things were the only things we ate all day, and the merge happened at like 4 o'clock.
Yeah. When did you start?
So 8.
Like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it was a long hot day.
It was a really long day. It was really hot, and I was just like, I'm just happy to have food. I think also I wasn't probably in the same mindset as other people like Rosie and obviously Amy were. I was just like, oh yeah, like why would he ever abandon us? We made an alliance like right at the start. Nobody ever betrays an alliance.
Never.
Of course it's coming over to us, and he does. And you as a group make that pretty clear. You don't really try and hide it, and there doesn't seem to be an attempt to, lull someone in to be the 6th member and get the numbers. You're just going to go in and take the punt on rocks, really.
Yeah. I love how like obvious was when like he just immediately walks over and the others there going like feeling so betrayed, and they're going
they're like, you guys are like, come on, Reds, come on.
And they're like, not Reds, come here. And it's so sad.
Well, especially because we swapped and like when we did like the tribe swap, then we weren't red anymore. So it was like,
You're still the Reds.
Yeah.
And like Calvin Galeese got the ability to be smug that he was right that they should have voted out Rem, but it wasn't doing him any good at that point. And
what do
you
think
see
you guys
them
would have done if Rem had been voted out and you guys only had 4 out of 10? Like, who do you think you would have tried to like pull over to be, your group then?
Probably anybody.
Yeah, I probably would have deferred to whatever Rosie thought or Amy, because you knew the most people. I would have been like, who do you think we can convince?
Yeah. I think
you think Amy would have been like, hey, David, like, we go way back.
It's a funny hypothetical, though, because I would put money on Rem to win that battle back challenge if he was out. I could see him smashing that food. Like, he's that sort of guy, just gone.
Yep. Yep.
And then he's even more with them, isn't he?
That date, that like David said in his opening confessional, like, I'm really my worst nightmare challenge, which on YouTube the closed captions has subtitled the Asian challenge.
Oh!
But I love how he came so close, and that was his biggest nightmare.
So, did any of you think about trying to pull someone in, or you're like, nah, look, we'll just go in there, and if we're tight, one of them will flip, or we'll go to rocks, and what will be will be. Was that the sort of thinking there?
Yeah, I think staying red strong was pretty much the strategy at that point.
Yeah, I don't remember any discussion of trying to convince anyone to join us. It was just kind of, I think we didn't realize we maybe needed to be subtle in having our first group conversation. And then it was a bit too late to try and go to someone else, hey, why don't you also join us? And we promise we won't totally betray you like Rem just did to the rest of you.
Yeah.
I think I remember at one point, like, you guys are just like cackling about like how hard they're trying, and then Rosie kind of goes like, guys, like we're good people, we're not bad, don't be bad.
Yeah, we're the good guys, come on.
But I mean, you also commented, because Rosie shares to you guys that she's found the clue to another idol, and she says that she's going to like pop it out of her bag at tribal, and protect, like, make it obvious to the other tribe, but like not say who it's going to be, to create some uncertainty and chaos. Did you guys understand like strategically where she was getting at, or was it more like, that sounds great, Rosie, let's do that?
It sounded like really great, but also like really risky.
I just remember going like, yeah, okay, like it's your idol, you can do whatever you want with it, and maybe it'll mess up how they vote if they pick the wrong person to vote out. Or they'll have to spread their votes, and then we'll be able to crush them.
And they make a smart play. They assume Rosie's going to play it on Rem, which she does, because he's obviously their likely target based on his betrayal and his strength. But they recognize that, and they choose to vote for Amy, much to her shock, instead. Meanwhile, your tribe on the other side had identified the other side had an idol note. Now, Rosie's very, very certain that it's an old note and not a new one, or part of the fake idol that you planted for Dan to find, because they're being too obvious about it, and you still vote for Dan, even though he may have had an idol or he was the most obvious target. Was there any consideration on your group going for a less obvious target than Dan?
I don't remember.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
I really feel like so much of like all the strategy stuff, like I'm glad you're talking to Rosie next week, because she knew what was up. Because I was like, I was like, okay, Rosie, what do we do now? Okay, you think we should vote Dan? Let's vote Dan.
But the votes come out, and it's 5-5-5. And Amy, what's going through your head at this point?
Shocked, like appalled.
Do you have the knowledge, though, that if it goes 5-5 again, you're safe?
I think it was like explained to us like there and then, and I was like, okay, yeah. And I feel like it all sort of like happened so quickly, and I was so sort of like confused and shocked as well, like that. I just assumed people would vote the exact same way that they just voted.
Yeah. Well,
which would have been good for you.
Yes, if that had happened, then it would have been a rock draw with Rem, Rosie, Amy, and Dan all immune. So, Sally, you would have had a 1 in 6 shot of going in that scenario.
Yeah, I remember them explaining the rocks vaguely, but I don't remember realizing that everyone who would be immune, I just remember going like, oh, okay, like if it's just random, then.
And I think you have to, because at this point, like, you guys are so obviously like committed to this type 5 red tribe that if you guys lost even one person, they would turn on you the very next round.
The fact is, all you had to do was win that rock draw, and you had the better odds, 2 to 4, and you steamroll the game until final 5. Like, that's just, you've got to take that risk. And obviously, Rhiannon wasn't so comfortable with the risk, and she switches her vote. Dan goes, and you go immediately to another vote, and you all just go for Rhiannon.
So what was behind that? Was it because she had been voted out once and was just like, not again, guys? Or what happened there?
I think it was just we'd had a discussion beforehand of like, we'll vote Dan first, but if he has an immunity idol, we'll vote Rhiannon. That was the order we were going to vote in. And then when they're like, you have to vote again, we're like, okay.
We already know.
Sorry, what I mean was like, why do you think Rhiannon flipped to vote out Dan rather than stay on Amy?
She likes chaos, that's why.
And
always a good answer.
And she seemed to think that now that Rosie didn't have immunity, that people were going to flip on it at that vote at 9. Like, strange thoughts I felt.
I think also she maybe thought, we might all have a chance to discuss, and she could have told us that she'd been the one to flip.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was sort of a punishing difficulty of the game. Like, we were running so far over time. Like, they'd been hoping we'd be done, I think, like maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Laughable. Never.
Everyone's just like, start drinking, but still going.
Is that why they started letting everyone start drinking their booze from the merge onwards? Like, because everyone was actually there for a party?
Well, because people probably started arriving for the actual party at 7 p.m.
Also, there were other people not in the game who also
so there were more and more people watching and helping set up after 7.
Okay. So
the audience waited around till like 2 in the morning. Like, I
think the final tribal was at 3.
Damn! Wow.
I love the fact that they came for a party at 7, and because you guys were playing the game, they were just to watch.
Well, all they did was watch, and they had to be quiet because it was being filmed. So, like, like, quiet on set. So I came for a party.
Going back to the show, I do appreciate that you guys had like a backup plan, because you never really know like what's going to be around the corner twist-wise. So the fact that you guys had organized that when you didn't have time to speak, I think showed a lot of forethought.
I think that was like the first tribal council that we like went to being like united in, we know who we're going to vote for, and we also like know who we're going to vote for next. So when it happened, we were just ready to go.
Keegan makes a very good point that normally the crew gets smaller the longer the game goes on. I'm sure any of us are crew. It's very unusual for more crew to arrive and actually be helpful.
Although in some Survivor seasons they're low on crew, so they need you guys to vote people out to have more crew.
Become the crew.
People can start crewing,
Now, Amy, were you actually particularly bothered that they voted for you, or is that more of a show you were doing for a bit of comedic entertainment value?
Both. And because I said we're just here for a laugh, ham it up. So like bit of a diva moment. But also like I think as it sort of progressed, and by the time I got to final tribal council and I sort of reflected on it, I was like, there literally was like a bunch of my like actual close friends there who just was like, yep, she could leave. I definitely did the same to others, but
so who are we talking about here? Hat David,
Rhiannon, Daniel.
Rhiannon.
But Rem didn't vote for you.
Rhiannon, I think. Rhiannon.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Rhiannon, we voted for you.
Yes, out she goes. And then
It's the Uno reverse card.
Yeah.
at this one, everyone's just drinking from this point. Were you guys starting to smash down the booze, or were you guys like, no, the winner's in sight, I'm going to remain sober and focused?
Yeah, I'm not much of a drinker anyway, but also because it was such a hot day, I was more like concerned with like staying hydrated with actual water. That I didn't at that point. I'm like, things are getting serious. Like, I'm actually in with a chance here, maybe. So I didn't want to like mess it up for myself.
Yeah, I think this was about the point that I started having the worst headache I think I've ever had.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I think I remember saying to everyone, like, if someone has to volunteer, like, I will back out. I feel so awful. I would rather just like go and lay down. So
I guess it was a really long, hot day. You're probably quite dehydrated.
Sunstroke, dehydrated, yeah.
Yeah, and just we hadn't really eaten very much, and like, cause it was all sort of nibbly bits, which were really nice, but it wasn't like a proper meal for like such a big day of a lot of activities.
Not what you
which I know
for
that Brian and Kyle fixed for future seasons.
Well, they don't give them food on future seasons, do they? Surely not.
Fruit sometimes.
There's food.
Not at all.
You probably haven't watched my season with and John's season playing with fire, but we basically eat nothing but rice and lentils for 2 days. And John loses so many challenges they don't have a chance to eat for the entire like 8 a.m. to about midnight.
Oh.
And I'm on the other side gorging myself with plain rice.
And giant Costco muffins.
That was the reward. And then I stole John's banana at the merge feast, and he was very upset about it.
Oh.
So I ate so much rice.
I think you'd agree, Sally, if you've been starving all day when people steal your food.
So we're used to the not eating behavior. We're all for that. But we played in terribly freezing conditions as opposed to 40 degrees. And personally, I'd probably take the freezing over the 40 degrees. I think that would have been absolutely brutal. We didn't talk about that. How brutal was it playing in that sort of weather?
I think I felt worse for the other camp. There was a camp, I think it was like the losing camp, who was like in the sand. Like, that would have been awful.
There was like the winners camp at the pool. The second place camp was in the garage, so at least they had a lot of shade.
Yeah.
And they had places to sit that wasn't on sand.
Yeah. The losers.
But it was also one of the confessionals was in a van outside on the street. Oh, sorry.
Hey, it's a cat.
That's no wonder why Matt Mahoney was so salty all the time. Like, when you lose, you get the shit camp.
You get the shit camp, and then you get the I remember going out to do my I did all the confessionals in the bathroom in for the first 4, and then the first one after we lost was outside in the van, and I was like, this is just torture. It's 10 degrees hotter in the car.
Yeah, it would be. It's brutal. All right, so we're at this one now, and there's a few discussions, confessionals with both of you about whether the Reds have a final 3 plan. Calvin's really putting this position hard to both of you, or generally the group. He's saying he's voting for Rem, and on this tribal, the hosts go very
Sorry,
hard.
I think my phone's gonna crap out again.
Yeah.
You're still good for the moment.
Yeah. I might just turn my camera off if that's okay. See if that rescues it.
Right. Yeah, let's go for that. The Reds go the hosts go very hard on Rosie about what her plans are. Is it still at this point at the final final 8 here? Final 8, final 7, absolutely legitimate that you guys aren't making a plan for the final 3? Is it really still just Reds until we get to 5?
Like for me, yes, it was sort of like ignorance is bliss, you know, like we don't have to think about that until we have to, and we're still all here, and you know, so we don't need to face that at the moment. But like going back on what you said about Calvin being very open about I'm voting for Rem and approaching us and telling us his plan and if anyone wants to join me, like on the day, in the moment, I kind of was like, go away. Like I would never, like, don't even talk to me. But like watching it back, like you got to respect the guy for having the balls to do that. You know, like very confronting, like coming up to like these 5 people who are going to be like, no, anyway, and being like, well, I got nothing to lose. So I'm just going to tell them.
So do you think if he had like come at it with a different approach and wasn't so confrontational, like you might have considered it? Like if he kind of said like, hey, if you go to the end with Rosie, like she's going to win, you know, why don't we work together to change things up? Like, would you have been more receptive? Like, was it more the approach rather than the content of what he was saying?
I think, like, it would have been so hard for him to like pull one of us away because we were just so like the 5 of us just stick together, like protect the group, and like no one would ever really sort of like, you know, stray from that. Like if there was 2 of us that had gone away, like the other 3 probably would have just gone and joined.
I don't think I ever had any intention of leaving. I was like, if I can make it to the 5 of us and I go then, you know, I'll be really happy with how I've played. And also I can remember, like, because I had the headache, I was like, well, if we get to the 5, I'm happy to bow out.
Yeah.
And then you guys can, you know, play the way you need to play, like vote for me on that first vote. But then I started winning challenges and I was like, oh no, now I really want to win.
Okay. So it legit probably wasn't actually until the final 5 where, you know, the 2 of you and Tyrone were like, actually, the best thing is that the 2 of us and Tyrone just go to the end because we probably have an equal shot with each other. Like, who's going to win that? I don't know. Like, whereas if you go with Emma, you go with Rosie, you're probably losing. So, like, it was always perfect for the 3 of you, the 2 of you and Tyrone, to stick out the 5 because the 3 of you always had the numbers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sort of getting at.
Yeah, like when Rem was like voted out, like it wasn't a choice of ours, like of us 3, it wasn't a choice of ours. So kind of like when it happened, it was like a bit of shock. Wasn't expecting that. Like, so like, what do we do now? Like it kind of shook things up a bit.
Yeah. So if Rosie hadn't given the idol to Emma and you guys had made the 5 together, what do you think it would have still been Rosie and Rem being voted out and you 3 being the final 3? Or do you think like, you know, like Sally, would you have offered to go out, or, you know, like what do you think would have happened?
I definitely was ready to go out until I won the pizza.
Yeah.
The pizza.
You won the pizza. You won the pizza in this scenario. It's final 5 red. Are the 2 of you and Tyrone realizing at that point, well, we're going to do Rem, Rosie, and then the other, we make it to the end?
I can remember, I think it was right after I had the pizza, because I sort of had the pizza with you and Emma, Amy, and I remember after that and I started feeling better, I was like, oh, we need to get rid of Rosie and we need to do it now because this is probably our only chance to do it. Because I remember thinking that, like, I barely scraped a win and Rosie would just steamroll the rest of us through all other immunity challenges.
Yeah. And then she wins the next challenge with an incredibly quick puzzle solve. And you guys are like, cool, we'll just do Emma here and we'll have our 5. And then obviously Rosie makes her big strategic move by giving Emma the idol. And as I said last week on the program, this was almost an amazingly perfect move by Rosie to win the game. All she had to do was to tell Emma, you can vote out Sally or Amy or Tyrone. I don't care really which one. And it sounded like she was in the chat last week, and Rosie said she was planning on having Amy there with her. So, not Amy, but she just had to say, don't vote Rem. And I think Rosie makes it to the end because I think Rem would have happily taken her to the end. So it really worked out for you guys that she didn't put that conditional on her idol play. Mel Sheehan's asking, did you know that she gave her the idol? And you said earlier that neither of you knew that, I recall.
Nah, we didn't see it.
I didn't know anyone had an idol except when Rosie played that one at the merge.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were also told, because we were told when we're inside the house, no gameplay. So, these were the rules. So I we weren't looking or seeing what was going on there. And I think there was sort of a bathroom break that happened. And then Rosie just seized the moment and did the thing. And I think Kyle was kind of walking past and saw it happen and grabbed the phone out and started filming it. So it wasn't in sight of where we were. So we didn't see it.
Yeah. And at that final five, I was watching. I was a bit kind of confused with. So initially, you guys were thinking, let's stay red strong. Let's vote out Emma. But then Rosie has this plan of pulling in Emma and Sally to vote out you, Amy. And then the vote eventually changes to Tyrone. How did that all and then you guys changed back to Rosie. So how did that all sort of play around the few minutes that you guys had?
I think this was the point where Rosie said to me, let's vote Amy. And I was like, I'm like, yeah, okay. But let's not vote Amy.
Yeah.
And then I think about 20 seconds after she sort of wandered off, maybe to go and investigate the bathroom. Because I remember having 2 minutes where Rosie wasn't around. And I was like, we need to vote for Rosie. It has to be Rosie.
And did Tyrone require any convincing?
No, I think he was very much as long as it's not me, I'll vote.
I think he did feel really bad about doing it because she,
carried us
really, really well.
Did he know that he was getting the votes from Rosie and Emma?
I'm not sure.
Because when I looked at Rosie's vote, she wrote Tyrone O, almost as if she couldn't make up her mind whether she wanted Tyrone or Amy O to go.
Well, she said to Emma, try and convince Sally or Amy, I'm not sure which one, to vote for Tyrone. Say we're doing a girls thing. So there was a bit of discussion there about trying to get Tyrone. But obviously you guys saw the need to sit together. And you, Amy, of course, were famously reading into Rosie's words, where you were planning to be loyal to the Reds until the final five. And, ultimately Rem didn't make it, but that was through no fault of any of you or even your knowledge, Rosie, at that time. So you still thought it was going to be Reds to final four then. But Rosie had said, no, it was final five. We got to final five. Now we can do what we want. And you took that as license. Well, you know what? I can do what I want.
And she was throwing your name out, Amy.
Because she's like, oh yeah, remember we all said when we get to final five, all bets are off, we can do whatever we want, free to, do whatever, stay strong until that point and then, do what we want from there. But I don't remember her saying that until she was telling us that at the final five. I was like, I don't remember when we said that. Maybe it was a conversation I wasn't in. It's and we get to this point that we can do whatever. I'm like, yep. So then
I remember. I remember similarly feeling the final five was because there's five of us. If I was of the understanding that it would be if it got to the final four when it was the four of us.
Yes.
That was when we would be able to turn on each other.
Yes.
This is again playing into my why would anyone ever betray an alliance mindset.
Yeah.
So if Rosie had said, nah, like, you know, the REM thing was an accident with Emma finding the idol, but we got to like stick Red strong and vote out Emma, would you guys have done that at 5?
Well, I didn't know that she'd given Emma her idol.
Yeah,
So I thought Emma just played it like incredibly well. She got an idol at the right time and managed to punish us with it.
Yeah.
But if
so
she,
what I meant was, if she had, instead of saying let's vote out Amy or let's vote out Tyrone, if she said let's stick Red strong and vote out Emma, do you think that's what would have happened at Final 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we probably would have voted out Emma.
Oh,
she wasn't saying that. That's what she should have been saying, but she wasn't saying.
Yeah.
She was still more of the everyone can do what they want vibe, and you're like,
she gave you the permission to come for her.
Yeah, without probably she was doing it.
And I think because we knew she was such a strong player, it was sort of obvious enough to me to be like, this is our only chance. We need to vote Rosie as soon as she doesn't have an immunity idol.
Yeah, take the shot.
Yeah.
And so she goes, absolute great move for the three of you. And I've got it here that the two of you, I've got it as the girls, which is the two of you, need to convince Tyrone that Emma is the threat. Like, what the hell? How is he not aware that Emma is like the last person you guys now needing to get out? Because if she goes to the end, she's probably getting most of the votes. What did Tyrone think was going to happen? Who did he want to go?
I don't really remember having to convince him of anything, because we were kind of like, no, now we're back to Red strong because the three of us believe in our alliance.
Yeah. And it's super sensible for the three of you to go to the end together. Like, it's an absolute no-brainer for all three of you, because the win is absolutely anyone's. It's up for grabs.
Yeah, I also remember not realizing, like, until I watched like you guys discuss it, I didn't realize how highly thought of Emma was by everyone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had any suspicion that she was going to win. I just was like, she's not part of the original group of 5, so sorry, Emma.
She just had a story.
Yeah.
And the best thing you can have at Final Tribal Council is a story. And I think all three of you struggled a bit to create a narrative about yourselves at Final Tribal. And there's nothing wrong with that. But she would have had this, I came in hungover, I battled through this, I was on the wrong side of the numbers, I survived, I was the last surviving there's just a whole narrative there that she can spin that make everyone go, oh, wow, like, what a game.
Yeah, I think, like, not just the story, but I think she was also, like, representative of most of the jury. So, like, the whole jury is watching this game going, the fucking Reds, they're sticking together, red. And then I think, like, part of them would have just, like, wanted, like, just a non-red to win. And I think like any person who'd been there but wasn't red, I think they would have gotten a lot of the jury votes, just because like that person would have been representative of all of them going like, yes, we finally put out the win, like this underdog come from behind David vs. Goliath win against this juggernaut of like the Reds.
Particularly with the idol play that was seen as just her move and not Rosie's move.
Yeah.
You get into the plates challenge, and you narrowly defeat Emma there, Sally. Did you feel that the game was on the line there, that you had to beat Emma?
Yeah, I was sort of, I'm like, okay, like Emma's only chance is to win this challenge, and then it'll be me, Amy, or Tyrone.
Who do you think that would have been?
If Emma had won, who would you guys have voted out? Would it have been Tyrone?
It would have been Tyrone for me.
Probably would have, gone with that.
Yeah. I reckon Emma might do that too.
I took it to a pizza party.
You did.
You can't make a party alliance. It's a food alliance.
Your reasoning for that, I recall, was that because she voted you as like trust with your life. Like her answer to trust with your life was you. Was that legit, or was there actually a strategic move in taking her to that pizza party?
I remember feeling like I can't say I picked Emma because she's the only person I know in the game who's left. So I was like, I'm going to pick Emma and Amy.
And this is my reason. Yeah, very good.
Yes.
You can't say
So like, and why did you pick them? And I was like, oh, I didn't have to have reasons.
And just checking, you didn't pick Rosie, right?
No.
No, she
You
didn't.
want to feed the challenge base to keep her weak.
Yeah, don't feed the beast. Keep the beast out. If I was you, I would have said I was taking Emma because she's hungover and she needs some pizza. Because everyone needs pizza when they're hungover.
She needs
Yeah,
the salt.
but because we didn't eat until like, I think like 10 o'clock. I was like, she's not hungover anymore. It's been like 14 hours.
I've had days where I'm hungover and I can't eat until 10 o'clock, but I am an old man. So like, but that does happen sometimes. 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I know, but I remember Emma, because I knew Emma from outside Survivor. I was like, no, her hangovers don't last this long. She's fine by now. Look at how well she's doing like Survivor stuff. I wasn't concerned about her hangover anymore. Like, probably not from the merch.
No, you don't.
Did you ever think like maybe she's putting on the hangover on? Maybe she's completely sober.
You didn't see her arrive. She was not putting it on.
I saw the shades in the coffee cup in her opening confession. I'm like, I love the vibe.
You roll into the tribal council, and this is an interesting one because and I've seen it before with other people that play these sorts of games. Neither of you have ever seen a final tribal council before. You've never watched Survivor sufficiently enough to know what it's like. Were you coming in there going like, oh my God, what is this? I've got to have an opening statement, now being intimidated and questioned by people. Was there a surprise element to what was happening, or did you have an understanding of perhaps a little bit of what you were getting in for?
I think they sort of like briefly gave us a rundown as to like how it was going to work. And then we were kind of like away filming that like random thing with the flames talking about
it's called rites of passage.
Yeah.
You guys were so nice.
I remember like they were like, okay, we like everyone else go over here. You three, you all have to come here and discuss everyone else in the game. And I was like, what?
We don't know
We're not
them
in anymore.
Yeah. So I remember like doing that, and then like after that, I think we had like a bit of time to like prepare, but we were all just sort of standing there chatting. But in my mind, I was like trying to think of like things that I could say during my little speech thingo. Ways that I could sort of like sum up the game, things that I had, gone through to that point. But I think I kind of I didn't have any like cool things to show, like big moves I made or any challenges that I'd won. So I was really sort of like banking on the fact that I was going to talk about how like I didn't have all these like very impressive things, but I made it through, and this is sort of how I did it, creating like a core alliance and going with them the whole way. And I don't know, like I was trying to remember like I never did like any sort of like debating stuff at high school or whatever, but I remember they told you like what sort of structure you should like do things in. So I was like, yeah, really like hone into that. But essentially I was preaching to a bunch of people who were like under the influence of alcohol for one, and like loved on Sally at that point, and were all people I like voted out, and probably was quite public about that as well. So I didn't realize that like jury management was like such an important thing in Survivor until like afterwards, I think.
Yeah, I had no idea that the jury votes was like how you won. I was like, then we'll do like one more challenge and it'll be like the final challenge for the final three. And I'm like, I've just won the last couple of challenges. Surely like I'm in with a chance.
You're feeling really good at this point.
And then they were like, oh, you have to come up with like a speech and explain to the jury why you deserve to win. And I was like,
what?
I really don't like public speaking. I was like, I hated it.
Yeah.
And then Tyrone's was so funny and Amy's was so nice. And I was like, mine was just garbage. I'm really banking on I won a couple of challenges here.
Well, it worked.
Yeah, I love that one point. I think it was like maybe Coward or someone was kind of going like, we ever going to work with us? And you guys were just like, nah, just like shut them down.
That was Rachel that said, did any of you regret? Rachel was like, did any of you regret not flipping? You're like, no. And that's a fair answer. The poor Tyrone had a rough run of it at the final tribal. He said his strategy was he was going to be under the radar, and then he wanted to win the last immunities, but he didn't. And then the lock thing happened where he couldn't open the lock, and he's just really like down on the whole thing. And then you have the question where he really gets kicked when he's down, because Tamara says if you had to pick a person to win that isn't yourself of the final three, who would it be? And Amy, you say Sally, and Sally, you say Amy, and then Tyrone says Sally, but no one says Tyrone. Poor Tyrone.
It's a really dark final episode for Tyrone. I think after we lose the challenge, I think it was in subtitles, just like, I am enraged, but it's like so sad. The whole time, like he's about to cry. I'm like, oh, Tyrone. I will say that I feel like Tyrone and Amy, you guys didn't win any challenges, but you definitely won for like most fucks said on screen in the season.
And then like Calvin asked the question, I think it's really indicative of the two of you and the games that you played. He acknowledges Sally's challenge performance, that she was able to win those pivotal challenges, that she was able to beat Rosie to be able to take her out. And Rosie's challenge performances were obviously really, really excellent. And that Sally was, a bit of an all-rounder like Rosie in both strength and endurance and puzzles. And asked Amy and Tyrone how you played better than Sally. And I think, Amy, you gave a really great argument about your social game and never having immunity and merge and making it through. And Tyrone just doesn't have an answer. He's like, why do you deserve to beat Sally? He's got, I guess his answer is I don't deserve to be, in a way, because I think that's how he feels. Do you guys feel that Tyrone...
I remember being so relieved that I didn't have to answer the question about why I deserved to beat Amy or Tyrone, because I was like, I don't know.
Calvin already thought you deserved to win. Yeah. You see,
so I think it's always hard because you guys were literally playing together the entire game, like both like pre-swap, post-swap, merge. You guys played
all vote the same way the entire game.
You never voted differently, so I think like it's always hard when that's the final three and the jury's asking you to differentiate your game. And I guess for Sally, the easy thing she had was like it's very visible. Like she's literally wearing the difference when she comes to tribal, and that's what the jury sees. So I think like for someone like Tyrone, like that is going to be hard because he probably had in his mind, this is what I'm going to say, that I won the last clutch community, and then when he's had to suddenly go, what are you going to say now? I'm like, well, I can't say what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The jury's John are also watching the challenges in this game, so they see the challenge performance, not just the necklace. So they've seen Sally being very, very dominant in some of these challenges. This wasn't just like fluke wins or anything. Like she was very, very impressive. So with that in mind,
I can't see it because my camera's off, but I have a really big grin.
Mel's asked what's the final vote split, and it's a very interesting, very close. I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again in the Australian LRG format. Tyrone had 3 votes, Amy had 4, and Sally had 5. At the end of the tribal council, going into the votes being read out, did you think you'd won, Sally?
Before we did the speeches, I was like, yeah, I've got this in the bag. I've won challenges. Yeah. I feel like I've got it. And then we did the speeches and I was like, oh, people can listen to what they have to say. Oh, now I don't really think I've definitely got it anymore.
So did you think that Amy had perhaps won? Or
I thought Amy might have got it, or I thought because Tyrone I thought was quite funny. I was like, like that might have swayed people a lot more than I wasn't feeling well and then I won some challenges. Please vote for me. Yeah. Sort of speech.
And the jury's on the froth already, so they enjoyed a good laugh. What about you, Amy? Did you think you had won or were a good chance, or do you think that maybe Sally had it?
I walked in thinking Sally had it, and but I think because of that, I was like, well, I've literally got nothing to lose. Like, she's probably going to win it. I think she's already got it. So I'm just going to go in there and just go really hard and like say a bunch of stuff to maybe try and convince people to vote for me to win.
Did either of you guys have going into tribal, like when you did you guys look back at the jurors and think like, these are the people who are probably going to vote for me, these are the people who will probably vote for like the other person, like these are the people who are probably neutral and I might be able to convince, or like was it not enough time or to kind of think about all that?
I don't think there was really very much time. I was like, maybe Rachel and Emma will vote for me because I know them, and maybe I've convinced some of the others, but because it had been such a long day and people said like in other tribes were getting eliminated, I didn't know everyone.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even sort of work it out in my mind who might be voting for who.
Yeah. You meet half those people, which is the danger of the full cast jury. Did the people you were friends with vote for you? Did Emma and Rachel vote for you, Sally? Do you know?
I've got no idea. I haven't watched the season since we had our like Survivor launch party, which is
what about
5 years ago now.
Yeah. And what about you, Amy? Did David with the hat vote for you? I feel like he did, considering the way he stumped for you.
I think he did vote for me. I remember thinking that like Matt would vote for me as well, but I don't think he did.
Ooh, he voted Tyrone, I think, didn't he?
Possibly, yeah.
That's because you didn't give Matt the correct answer to Matt's question.
Yeah.
Matt's question.
He was really fishing for, I wanted to work with Matt.
Yeah.
Matt. The answer was Matt. The answer to Matt's question was Matt.
Too hard just being honest, though. Like, ask me a question, give you an honest answer. Oh, my God.
And also, it was 3 a.m. We had no time to consider what was the answer people really wanted, unless it was like
we're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And what about
we know this is the final stage before we can go home and go to bed.
Go to the party.
Yeah. Was there a party after this finished, or was like watching you guys the party?
There were a bit of both. Yeah. I think it continued a bit after, but probably not for as long as they
I think if they'd finished on time, there would have been a lot more party, but it was sort of like, I think you can hear it a bit in the first challenge that I won, where we're doing the puzzle. It sort of took so long that people were starting to get a bit rowdier about being quiet while the filming was happening.
Yeah. And Rem's question about the musicians. Do you guys know what the correct answer to that was?
No,
like rubbish.
Does anyone? Like, what
who did Rem vote for?
What's happening?
Do you guys know who Rem voted for?
No.
Yeah, and Trent Reznor, Laurel Marley, Bob Dylan.
Bob Marley.
No, it was like Laurel Marley or something.
Okay.
So I think I had some relative, I presume. They said Bob Dylan. Random question. I think, do you think that affected his vote, knowing him? Or do you think that was just something random he was doing?
I mean, like, he literally did a vote where he stood behind and did eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, yeah, I'll vote for that person.
He did do that. So I think there probably was a correct answer for a vote here. This could have cost you the game, Amy.
Probably. I think I said Trent Reznor, but who did you say, Sally? Did you say the same person?
I think I would have said Trent Reznor because he was the only one who I knew any songs of.
I didn't even know who that is.
He's
the lead singer of Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, okay.
He also did the music soundtrack for Treasure Planet, which is where I know his music from.
He's actually done a lot of music soundtracks in the last 20 years of quite significant, like Academy Award-winning movies. He's gone on to do quite a lot of scores.
CK, you could probably just
know CK is a professional musician.
Just on Trent Reznor.
I'm not that big fan of Nine Inch Nails. Well, look, yeah, and you won, Sally. Congratulations. Can we get back on video for a quick moment? Hope your phone doesn't die.
Okay, just give me a moment.
Yes, you won a fantastic victory, well deserved, and Amy, a very, very well deserved runner-up on what is a great season. It's a season that in places is a little bit dull as a watcher because it's a little bit void of viable moves because you guys stick so strong. But when you're playing a game and you're trying to win, and you've got a great core of people that are actually playing together and staying loyal, there's no reason to upset that. There's no point to make moves for the sake of making moves. And the moves the two of you made were very subtle, but incredibly effective to get you to where you needed to get to that end game where, Sally, you were able to get enough votes to win, and Amy, you were just so very close. But for some people that had never watched Survivor, I think you were both incredibly strong in terms of understanding the best way to play, and the best way to play for the people that you are. Like, that's ultimately a factor of the game. It's hard to be someone that you're not, and so you are who you are, and you've got to play the game that's best going to suit the person you are and the style you want to play. And you guys both seem to recognize, even in the discussion today about this is what I was doing or that's what I was thinking, they were quite optimal strategies for the people you were in the games that you were playing to get to where you got to. Obviously, the results speak for that too, but just in general game speak, it was very, very well done. And I'm impressed incredibly by both of you at your ability to pick up the nuances of the game and play so effectively without having that experience of watching a lot of the program.
Yeah, I definitely get it. Like, I agree. I've heard, people say stuff like, oh, Backyard Survivor season 1, it's the pagonging or whatever that means.
Do you guys know where that comes from?
Yeah, it's like a Survivor thing where like the whole tribe sticks together and picks off the other people or whatever, and that's quite boring to watch because it's
that happened in the first season of Survivor, and this tribe is it the tribe that got wiped out, John? That was Pagong, or was it?
Yes, I think Tagi was the dominant tribe, and they stuck together, and
they wiped out the other tribe, and that tribe was called Pagong, so that's why it's called a Pagonging.
Yeah.
I think, like going into it, like we definitely weren't going into it to play a game that we felt was going to be like impressive to viewers to watch.
The viewers didn't exist. This was the first one.
So we got nothing to compare it to. Like we haven't watched the whole season of Survivor. We're just here doing our thing.
And just like weirdly enough, like just like the first season of US Survivor. Like usually, like I'm the type of person, right? Like I usually root for the underdogs. I don't like one factor sticking together. But I feel like watching this, at least the way the edit's shown, I think you guys are still the heroes. Like you guys are the main characters. Like I think like I love I feel like a lot of your confessionals are really like endearing. And like I remember like Tyrone is so sassy. Like in his upstairs. Like I think you guys are still looking the main characters. Like for some reason, the audience is still wanting to root for you just to dominate the others.
I agree. I was rooting for that as well.
Yeah.
I was actually rooting for that.
Yeah.
I remember Kyle telling us, like, at the end of the night, he was like, this is actually really interesting because you guys played so similarly to the way that the very first Survivor was, when people didn't have strategies and the alliances weren't so changeable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was surprised that it had gone similarly to the way that people played Survivor when Survivor strategy wasn't really a thing.
Fascinating. I feel kind of bad for some people who get into these games who are massive fans of Survivors and have a lot of knowledge, and they want to come in and do really cool stuff and have these great, strategic moves and ideas. And then it can just like not go the way that they want it to go. And I think like I'm very proud of the game that I did, because you're very right, CK. I very much played to who I was and made decisions that felt right to me. And a lot of stuff was based on instinct and making decisions on the fly or being adaptable and flexible.
And I think that's 100% the way you're actually meant to play Survivor. So I think you reference all these super fans that come in with like probably like 20 years of ideas of what they want to do, but like then you're kind of playing this like not real like game in your head, like rather than the game that's in front of you, rather than with the people you're playing with. You kind of have to play to the pay. Like every cast is different. That's why there's no like one way to play Survivor. You got to like play to the people you're with. And if the way the people you're with is like, where we want to form a strong alliance, be really loyal, and that's how you have to play. And I think like when you look through game that both you and Sally played, that, you know, you can't really say you guys made any major mistakes. Like, you guys pretty much played optimally through. You stuck together. You kept that alliance strong, which isn't always easy because sometimes, you know, alliances fracture for all sorts of reasons. And then when you had to take the shot at, you know, the runaway favorite, you guys didn't. So, you know, because timing is everything too, threat management is everything, and I think you guys should be both really proud of the games that you played.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any final comments about your game?
Ooh.
I think I did really well, considering it was, you know, a birthday party. And I was ready for...
You need to put considering in there. You won. You did do very well. Well done.
But I mean, like, I would have been happy, you know, I was happy, like, and also just seeing how all the games were set up. I was so impressed with how it all ran.
Yeah.
That I was just like, oh, I think after the first challenge, I remember saying at the camp, I was like, I really don't want to go out because I want to do more challenges.
Yeah. The challenges are very impressive for season 1 of Survivor.
So I was really glad that I got to do almost every challenge. Yeah. That was probably my favorite part of the whole day.
And you dominated something. Just think about this, Sally. Maybe you're not thinking in this context. There's been 11 of these LRGs in this era. Over 100 people will have played, and you're one of only 11 people to win the game. So
you're the first.
And the first. So don't underplay either of those achievements.
It just doesn't feel like a real thing. It was like a fun birthday party that like went for a lot longer than expected. And I remember seeing the editing of the show and being like, oh, it's actually professional. That's why we had to walk in up the driveway 6 times.
Yes.
Maybe if they hadn't made you do that, you could have been more on time.
Slow-mo.
Mel's got a very important question. This is the Max Classic. Would either of you want to play again? Got everything to lose, nothing to gain except for a good time.
I liked playing the games, but I think if I was playing with people who were like, everyone else was full of Survivor knowledge like Rosie, I don't think I'd enjoy it as much.
Yeah. All right, you, Amy?
I definitely learnt a lot from this experience, and I've stayed connected and watched a lot more games play out. I've watched some of the other, I feel like franchises. Is that what we are? Franchises. I've watched some of the other
franchises,
Australian LRG franchises. What the heck? Who are we? And so it's very interesting, seeing how other people can play the game and stuff like that. But I don't know if I would play any different. I don't know if I would do as well if I played another game as well. And I've always been really happy and content with the game that I played. If I won, then I couldn't do any better. The only way I could do any better.
As I said, you got nothing to gain, everything to lose. The only thing you can gain is a good time.
Yeah, I would have to go into it just being whatever. Probably won't win. Just who gives a shit? Just give it a go. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, I think if it was the option, a bit like what I expected, I'd definitely do it. But I think all the strategizing, I found it stressful.
What if there's a backyard all-stars? Would you guys put your hands up for that? Or would you go on if you were asked to go on something like that?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Voting felt so mean every time.
I think you'd find, look, this is, I'm putting thoughts in your head, but I think you'd find that if you say you would rather not play with a bunch of Rosies, because that could be a bit intense, but equally, if you're playing with a bunch of Rosies, voting people doesn't feel as nasty because everyone's like a player. Everyone's there to play the game. Not everyone's there to just have a good time. And if everyone's there to play the game, then it's just part of the game, right? You can just give yourself that moral justification. No?
Yeah. Might be a bit different for me, because I've returned to crew every season, since we played. So it would be like voting out close friends.
Babies. Yeah.
You're gonna know everyone, and you're the threatening person All Stars because you know everybody.
Yeah, I'd probably just cry.
You're the mama.
Tribal council.
Well, I just want to say thank you both for coming on here and making the time to be a part of our coverage of Backyard Survival 1. It was so good to get your thoughts, both you, Sally, and Amy. Really great insights to your experience and the way you played this game. It's if you, I know, Amy, you might have watched the one I did with Toby, and like it was very different to that because Toby's a real like survivor gamer sort of player. And that was really interesting because it's good to get his thoughts on that style. But both of you have a very different style, and there's no one way to win Survivor. There's plenty of ways to win Survivor based on the game you're playing and the people are and the circumstances, and there's always like a teensy bit of luck. So I loved getting your insights about your game and also about the day. That was really, really exciting. And really interesting for everyone here and the people that are watching. So I want to say thank you again, Sally. People seem to be surprised that I was able to get you to do this. So like that's apparently a feather in my cap. So thank you.
He's a good
I haven't really done anything since I helped with the crew on season 2.
Yeah. So
and then I was shocked because all the people I was helping film were like, "Oh my God, Sally!" And I was like, "Why do you know me?"
They're like the winner, Sally. I was like that with the crew that filmed mine too. So it's so weird. And Amy, obviously, thank you so much for coming on and giving your insights as well. That was really fascinating. Thank you to the game for showing up and giving us his winner's takes on your successes. As I said, quick turnaround for the next pod. It's Monday. It's the only one. If you're only going to watch one of the 4 we do, no offense to anyone here, myself included, because I'm not on it, you want to watch the Tea Party with Annabelle of Melt Playing with Fire, and of course, real reality star of the Traitors, doing the Hot Takes interview with an all-star lineup of fun and exciting players that didn't make the end game. That's why you're not invited. It's only non-end game players. Rosie, Emma, and Calvin for all their hot takes, all their salt, all their spiciness this coming Monday. And if you have not voted for the awards, get on and vote. You guys are entitled to vote. There's nothing that says that contestants haven't voted. Go on there and vote for yourself as the MVP. No one's stopping you. And anyone else that's out there watching, go and vote. Thank you to everyone who's tuned into this live and provided comments. And thank you to everyone that's listening to this at a later time whenever you listen to podcasts, say exercising or whatever. We know that you do that too, and really appreciate your support for the program, for the countdown that we're doing, and for Australian LRGs in general. Thank you again, the 3 of you. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.